Welcome back, fam. I'm Waiya Paints, and today I got something a little bit different. Don't worry, I didn't clickbait you. I'm gonna be painting, but this video is gonna be a response to a DM I got via Insta. Hey, do you do anything other than use washes and dry brush everything? Well, I could do other things. In fact, in this episode, I won't dry brush or use a single wash. Let's get started. Before I get ahead of myself, the video of painting his face got deleted, so we're gonna jump to his hair. Just know that I use my usual fair skin recipe of Bad Brews and Midland Flesh. To paint his hair, I chose Dark Earth and Khaki from Vallejo. Now, when you're not using any kind of wash, you have to start with your base as dark as you can. So in this case, Dark Earth will be that tone, with Khaki being the top highlight. So I mixed an in-between tone at 50-50 of each. The key here is to maintain that shadow all the way through the highlight. And when I'm doing it on something this small, my hand is going to slip. But thankfully I keep my dark tone on my palette, so it's available for a quick cleanup. It was really important to follow the grain of his hair. Sandman has a signature textured hair, and without it, he'd look really weird, so extra time was needed. For his shirt, I chose camo green and livery green, again, both from Vallejo. Once again, I made another color that would sit betwixt these tones as a simple 50-50 mix. Looking at the reference photos, his shirt is not really consistent. Sometimes alternating stripes and other times it's thin pinstripes. And then sometimes, just for fun, it's both in the same picture. So I decided I liked the pinstripe look, mainly because I didn't feel like highlighting two different shades of green. With this first highlight, I focused on the major muscle groups. Now, since he's wearing a shirt, I didn't want to overdo this, as cloth over muscles tends to diffuse light, so I like this subtle look a lot better. For the final highlight, I only applied it to his shoulders and his pecs and a bit of the top areas of his back. Again, I prefer subtlety in the highlights, so I don't want this to become too extreme, so I'll only do one or two passes and call it before I get full opacity. Next up is his pants. I started by using bootstrap and leather brown, and again, making a transition color using a 50-50 mix. I know I could have used the same browns I deployed for his hair. Considering I'm going to be painting most of his base brown, taking the time to ensure that each brown is a different tone will pay off by adding visual interest. This first highlight was limited to those thick thighs and that booty. Dang, Sandman, I see you. The final highlight was applied to the top of his butt and his front leg. Once it was all said and done, maybe this tone was a little too close to be a visible highlight, but like I said before, I appreciate the subtle tonal shifts, so it's fine by me. To finish off his outfit, I used good old black and copper for his belt. This is the point I realized I was out of black paint. While I order some more, this is a good time to say thank you to my Patreon supporters. You're keeping the lights on, which I like, because painting in the dark sucks. If you would like to help support the channel, you can find a link to my Patreon in the description below. Or you can use my Amazon affiliate link the next time you want to order something. It won't cost you anything extra, but Amazon will slide me a few of those Bezo bucks as a thank you. So it's a win-win if you ask me. Back to Sandman. With his belt finished, it was time to start working on his sand. Here's where I had a bit of fun. I started with coating his base and his hands with sterling mud. This is a texture paint that will add a nice graininess to his sand portions. Next, I layered on the bootstrap. Now I know this looks like dry brushing, and that's an easy mistake to make as I'm using my Army Painter dry brush, but I promise you, I'm using a very aggressive lateral stippling technique, not dry brushing. Next up, Desert Yellow was also stippled on, with more of a focus on the tops of the sand masses and his hands. Stippling is a powerful technique to build up a color in a random and natural way, and it shouldn't be slept on. The final highlight of Menoth White was again stippled generously over this figure and base. I was worried at one point I may have gone overboard with this, but once it dried, it looked pretty good. Unfortunately though, all of my handling has rotted off a bit of his pants. But a quick patching of bootstrap and it was all good. Then I glued him to his base to inch him closer to done. That's when I saw these chunks of ground poking out. At first I wanted them to be a gray stone color, but then I thought, screw that noise, and undid that by repeating the recipe I used for the stand. Sterling mud, stipple the bootstrap, stipple the desert yellow, then finally stipple the Menoth White. After blackening the lip of his base, Sandman was done. I hope you all enjoyed this one. It felt good to set a weird restriction on the paint job. It made me be more mindful of the values of the colors I was using. Maybe I'll make some kind of challenge bag with a mix of limitations that I can draw on before I start. If you have any ideas for restrictions that could go into this bag, you should leave a comment about it. If I like it, it'll go in the bag with your username, and if I draw it out for a future video, I'll send you whatever figure I paint as a thank you. Also, if you'd like to check out C27 and get some of these awesome sculpts for yourself, there's a link to their Patreon in the description below. With that said, thank you for watching, stay creative, and enjoy the process.